Hello, travelers. Boardman21 here, and yes, I'm back. This isn't another cringeworthy gameplay trailer for you today. We'll get back to that another time. Last week, we were teased with a 10-second clip of a new Sentinel skill coming. We watched the footage, we guessed at the name because it did have the letters MS in the title. I guessed Multistrike. Some of you guessed Multistrike with me, as well as guessed some other very clever names, some of them very intriguing. It turns out it is called Multistrike, so after two cringeworthy videos, I do want to pull out that we got that one right. One victory today. That feels really good to have at this moment. On top of that, I also said that when the teaser comes out in the forums and they show off some of the notes that we would discuss it even further, and today is that day. So, in the new forum post, we've got new Sentinel skill coming in patch 8.3, Multistrike. Hello travelers, the next patch will bring a slew of changes, improvements, and new skills to the Sentinel. We already revealed one new skill, Void Cleave, which we took a look at a few days ago. Today we'll showcase another, Multistrike. Multistrike joins the ranks of a 0 mana cost Sentinel melee skill. If you know the other ones, you've got Rive and Vengeance, and these ones have that ability to actually generate mana when you use them. This skill will fall in that category, assuming the passive tree will then add this skill into it, so you can generate mana with it as well, which is awesome once you see some of the things that you can do with this skill as well. Its damage ramps up over time, so you use it by creating more and more extra hits to other nearby enemies. Multistrike has synergies with skills in all three masteries and could be an appealing option to any melee build. Now, one thing does scare me in that sentence. It says that it ramps up extra damage and extra hits to other enemies, which makes me kind of worried right off the bat how single target is going to be applied to this. It doesn't sound like it can hit the same target multiple times. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, let's continue on. The specialization tree offers a variety of different options to modify the skill, one of which is changing the weapon types that assist you while using Multistrike. If you're looking for new ways to play your Sentinels, this patch will have plenty of options for you. And then as we go down, we have the Multistrike skill note. As you can see, it's a 0 mana costing skill. I'm assuming this is pure default, no notes taken. It's going to scale with physical, melee, and strength. The only scaling tag is going to be strength to give you that 4% increased damage. And then if you look at the description, additional swords cannot target the enemy you initially hit or enemies targeted by other swords, which means that if you attack with it and you get the extra hits, they have to attack other enemies, and they can't attack other enemies that are the same enemy. So if you can stack up 5 extra hits, there must be 5 extra enemies around you or nearby enemies to actually take all the hits. So it doesn't sound like it's going to be a super powerful single target, but it's going to be a great AoE clear. Armament stacks up to 2 times, and each stack lasts 3 seconds. So it sounds like for every hit you get with it, you get a stack of armament. I really hope I'm pronouncing that right. And for each stack of that you have, it can attack an additional enemy. It won't do an extra chain to the same enemy, not to say that there might not be a node inside of the skill tree that allows it to do so in the future, kind of like Lightning Blast can do, but at the moment that doesn't sound like how it's going to play out. It's going to just attack a lot of enemies for you, the more stacks of it that you get. Alright, as I scroll down, you can see we have that 10-second clip. I'm not going to play it right now, we watched it plenty the other day, but I will have this forum post linked in the description below if you'd like to look at it again. Then we got Multistrike example nodes. The values have been omitted as they're still balancing the skill, so they'd be subject to change. Our first node is called Bladestorm. Multistrike consumes mana per stack of armament to refresh existing stacks and create an additional sword per stack. So it looks like you get additional swords per stack that you have, which means that you would be able to, with just one stack, be able to attack 2 additional enemies. Now, assuming that they, again, still can't attack the same target, you would only need so many stacks, because having 30 stacks and being able to attack 60 enemies doesn't do you a whole lot of good against single target, and this sounds like a way to make it super mana expensive. However, again, we're really going to have to wait and see how it plays out. Now this does give it mana consumed per stack, but it doesn't say that it gives it a mana cost. Mana consumed is much different than mana cost. The reason that that is different is a skill can still cost 0, which means it can still be a mana generator for you, but it will then consume mana whenever this is used. So the big difference there is you'll still be able to use it as a mana generator. As we go down, we have Guillotine. Multistrike deals more melee damage, multiplicative with other modifiers, per stack of bleed up to a maximum on the target. Melee damage per bleed, of course we don't get the values. There's obviously going to be, we see this note a lot in a lot of skills, that per stack of an ailment on an enemy you get more damage up to a maximum. Nullifying Carve. Void Cleave consumes all stacks of armament to deal more damage in a larger area. Instantly this makes me think of Firebrand in either Flame Wreath or Shatter Strike, and that skill interaction where you get stacks and then you use them all with a skill. The damage and the area are both multiplicative with other modifiers per stack consumed. Void Cleave area per stack, Void Cleave damage per stack, and then of course it consumes all the stacks. Now this isn't a bad thing. This could be a really cool interaction because Void Cleave, we're not quite sure how much damage it does. So perhaps you're taking on enemies, you narrow it down to where you get to just a single target, and then you use Void Cleave to do really good damage to that single target that you racked up with all of those multi-strikes that you did. On top of that, using Void Cleave can also proc Abyssal Echoes, and it can give you a 100% crit chance with Erasing Strike. So you use multi-strike, you take out all the trash mobs, all those enemies, generate lots of mana, and then once your mana is full, once you're down to a single target, boom, you hit it with Void Cleave, doing more damage, sets you up to do a critical strike with Erasing Strike. Erasing Strike then uses your mana, assuming the skill still works the way that it's currently implemented. There are changes supposedly coming, and then you spend the mana and you'd go back to using Multistrike. It sounds like a really good synergy, so we'll have to see how it plays out. I love synergies like that in Last Epoch. I like that they're getting lots and lots of skills all intertwined together. This one looks like you're going to have 4 of them just with the nodes we've been shown that can interact in a good cycle that you'd actually be able to use in a single build. As we scroll down, we have Vengeful. You have a chance to retaliate with Multistrike Swords on block. Now that's big. The reason this is big is a lot of people have been looking for Reflect or Retaliation builds. People just really enjoy that kind of playstyle, and right now, Reflect in the game isn't really a viable build. However, there are some Retaliation builds that do alright. Flame Ward, yeah, it's okay, but Retaliation inside of the Sentinel passive tree allows you to do really good damage with Retaliation, and this looks like a way that you can build upon that on the Sentinel. Now, it does say that this effect has a 3-second cooldown and doesn't include the initial strike. So how many enemies you're going to be able to actually attack with it, not quite sure. You won't have the initial hit, you'll have all the extra strikes, so you're going to have armament stacks, it sounds like, in order for the block chance to actually proc the Vengeful node and actually get hits on enemies. But I'm not 100% sure exactly how that interaction is going to work. We'll love to play with it. As we scroll down a little further, we have Bladed Focus. When you drop below 0 mana, you consume all stacks of armament to restore mana per stack. Now, this one to me sounds kind of weird, because as it already being a 0-cost mana skill, it sounds like you wouldn't really need this node because you'd never be negative mana. However, if we go back to the top one that was shown to us where you can actually give it a mana consumed per stack that you have, it sounds like you can get a whole bunch of stacks until it gets so expensive it's consuming all of your mana, and then it will automatically consume those stacks, instantly fill your mana up, and you start the cycle all over again. So this Bladed Focus with the node on the top that we were shown sounds like a really good way to use the skill by itself. That's just kind of how it's working in my head, but we'll have to try it in the future to see exactly what uses we can get out of Bladed Focus. And then the last node being shown to us, Hack and Slash. You now strike twice with Multistrike, but it has significantly less attack speed. That's multiplicative with other modifiers. Each additional sword is now replaced with an axe that strikes its target twice. So while it's not having your attack speed, it's only reducing it by 75%, you now deal double attacks. So you could look at that as possibly, only getting a 25 boost in attack speed because you could have done it twice. But at the same time, you're getting multiple hits on each enemy. Not 100% sure how to think about this node. To me, it seems like you'd be better off using it as just a normal regular attack speed so that you can generate more and more mana, get more and more stacks, because you don't get any of those benefits by getting the double strike. It still only counts as using the skill once, but we'll have to wait and see how this skill plays out. Overall, really excited for this, really glad to see it's got lots of synergies, and it brings in the mechanics of retaliation, mana gain, mana spending, and then of course just those synergies with the other skills. Super excited for it, can't wait to play with it, can't wait for patch 8.3. That's going to be it for me. As always, stay safe, travelers, and have a good day.